Hello and welcome. My name is Aditya, and you're listening to another episode discussing AI in education. So today we are joined by Lisa Egle, who has been teaching writing at Passaic County Community College in New Jersey for over 20 years. She was one of the early adopters integrating AI into her classroom when ChatGPT first launched. And she's doing some fascinating work using AI to support her students, including creating personalized tutor bots with Pmfm.ai. Lisa has also been helping fellow educators at her college explore and implement AI tools in their own classrooms, and is now expanding into AI education consulting. So, welcome to the podcast, Lisa.
Thank you.
Um, can you share more about your background in your words and what you do, your work?
Sure.
Happy to have you.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. So, yeah, I've been teaching at a community college for about 21 years. I teach English as a second language, a lot of writing. To those students, I also teach Composition 101 and also public speaking. Everything that I teach is really related to writing, and that's why um, large language models have come in so handy for me, and, using AI. So anyway, so I guess I got very excited when I first discovered ChatGPT. I guess it was about 2 years ago. And right away, I used it, for increased productivity. But then I started to think like a student, how could I use this if I were a student? And then I went back to my role as a faculty member. How could I use it to teach the students? And I started to discover all of these uses for it. Um, so then I got involved with a little bit of professional development. I was on a panel at one point, panel discussion about AI. I think it was called AI is Here. It was back in the beginning. And I demonstrated the results of using ChatGPT compared to, believe it or not, Notion back then, because Notion was sort of new and it had built-in AI. And I did a little analysis of these different AIs and what they could do given certain prompts, and did a comparison. And that was a lot of fun. And then I started using AI with video, giving video feedback to students, and then using AI to summarize the transcript. And now I'm getting involved with a community of practice at my college. So I'm going to be working with other faculty who are into AI and who have kind of advanced. And we're going to be teaching other faculty some best practices and doing workshops and things like that. So for me, it started out as productivity, but then it moved into creating materials. Now I'm actually using it in the classroom to teach, and I'm using your software, and I've got a couple of tutor bots, I call them, that are sort of an extension of what's happening in my classroom. And it's been a really great journey, and I'm learning a lot, and so are the students.
That's interesting. So when you use these tutor bots with your students and
Mhm.
other AI tools or software, um, in what way do you think it has helped you in terms of productivity or like easing your workflows or your teaching, I would say your whole teaching job. And do you think AI can eventually, get to the point where you don't even have to come into the classroom and it does almost everything for you? Um, I guess, do you
Well,
think
not
that
not
AI
quite
will?
there yet. But so as far as productivity, one use case is when I teach writing, the students work with the reading. And after they annotate it and they do pre-writing and they eventually write an essay, I often need to give them another essay test later on, one where I want it to be related to the original reading, but I can't always find something. So sometimes I just have AI create it for me, and then I sort of rewrite it so it's along the same lines as what they were doing. So
Mhm.
that saves me a lot of time. I've used Notebook LM to create study guides and quizzes, and things like that. So it streamlines, the preparation process. And I, without realizing it, when I started uploading documents and creating these study guides and quizzes using Notebook LM, I realized I was doing something called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. I didn't even know there was a name for it. And then somebody said, "Oh, you're doing RAG." I said, "What?" So
Yeah.
anyway, it kind of got started that way as far as, my own productivity. But then, I wanted to create my own app about a year ago. I was considering hiring a developer or doing it myself and going through the hell of that because I knew it would be a little hellish. And then one day I stumbled onto your site and I said, "Oh my God, this is what I've been looking for." And so at first, I wanted a simple bot that would be the gateway to one of the main AIs and that would control what the students were doing to some extent. In other words, if they say, "Can you write my essay for me?" I programmed the bot to say, "No, I can't do that." So that was my original intention, to have it helping them with their writing that way. But then it occurred to me, why don't I make the bot assignment specific? So then I started uploading what they were reading, what my assignment is, what the rubric is, what's expected of them. And then I would reprompt it. The students are on their second draft of their essay. I've already given them feedback. Ask them to paste in the feedback I gave them, paste in what and then they need to paste in what they've done. And then they ask the tutor bot that I created with Pmfm to check what they've done. Have they done it well or not? And then tell them what they need to do and work with them on it. So it's kind of like an extension of what I'm doing in the classroom. It's doing stuff that I would do, but it's doing it with them on their own time and for hours and hours, as much as they need. And then they resubmit it to me. But here's where it gets really interesting. In order to do all of this, it occurred to me I would definitely have to change another part of my process, which is assessment. So previously, I was using a regular rubric, scoring them on how well they were writing and what the revision process was. And did they go get tutoring in the tutoring center, which they still sometimes do. And that can be handy, of course. But bringing the AI right into the classroom this way, I had to find a new system. So I said, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to allow them to add in up to 5 AI enhanced sentences, we'll say, and maybe 5 short phrases. But what they have to do now is they have to put them in another color. They have to explain why they chose those sentences, how those sentences actually help their writing. And then they have to make a video explaining the final phase of their writing process using AI. And all of that is now in my assessment rubric. So I had to change everything to accommodate this. But what's happening is it's actually helping them learn. Because I think the danger right now is if you don't bring it into the classroom and you don't actually actively use it, a lot of students are just going to go, they're going to go to ChatGPT, they're going to say, "Write my essay," and then they're done, they're not looking at it. So now I'm saying, look, let's have some fun here. We're going to have a no AI phase, which is the beginning. They actually write on paper because I want a baseline sample. And I'm not going to deprive you of using AI. We're just going to delay it. And it's fun and exciting for them. I go, look, just get your ideas out now. Don't worry about grammar or word choices. We'll deal with that later. I promise you're going to use AI. We're going to have so much fun with it, but not now. And if you use it now, well, you're going to lose points or maybe get a 0. So don't use it now. But later you can use as much as you want. You just have to do it within these parameters. And they are listening. They are respecting that. And it's so much fun. So much fun. It's so interesting. And I'm seeing them think. And that's what I really want.
Wow, that was a very good answer, and it's very interesting to see that the students are so receptive about using AI. And how receptive do you think?
One of them actually said, "Thank you for trusting us."
Oh, okay.
And I said, well, I'm trusting you, but I'm also trusting you to show me what you actually learned later when you make your video. And they put a lot of work into that. And another thing is, part of that is telling me and showing me what they decided not to accept from AI. because we all
Oh.
know AI hallucinates, AI is incorrect, AI this, AI that. Yeah. Well, they need to make good choices when they accept something. So they needed to explain, well, I didn't take this because it didn't sound like me, or this didn't really fit my paragraph. Great. Please include that too. So that's what I'm working on, getting them to analyze their use of AI and not just blindly accepting whatever it gives them.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting because not a lot of educators are doing that. I think it's like AI literacy, so it's
I
very
think it's
interesting.
great because when I tell some of my colleagues, they say, "What? What are you doing?" I say, "Yeah, yes." And some of them are quite receptive to it. They're very interested, and I think it's going to be nice when I'm involved with this community of practice because I'll be doing professional development and I'll be teaching others how to do some of what I'm doing, and I think that'll be great. But a lot of it is restructuring your assignments. You can't keep doing things the way you were doing them before. Now that's over. It's time for change.
Yeah, but do you get like any of these students or not students but like other educators or maybe like the parents of these students a little worried about exposure to AI and like is the mood like positive all around or um, is there some sort of still like roadblock to AI adoption, this worry that it is dumbing people down and it is not like actually enhancing someone's creativity, but actually rather blocking it or something.
Well, I have some of those concerns too. And I think that the dumbing down happens when the instructor doesn't incorporate it into their pedagogy the right way.
Mhm.
Um, I think if you just say, well, go play with AI and bring me an essay and let's see what happens, or you don't use AI and then you get this product and say, what is this? I think there could be a lot of dumbing down, a lot of dumbing down. So, so my students are between the ages of 18 and 50. So it's very rare to have a parent involved with any, expressing any sort of fear of anything happening. I think that most of the students are pretty excited about it. Occasionally you get students who are on the low tech side anyway. They have trouble uploading documents or copying and pasting. And for them, there's a little bit of a learning curve with using AI, believe it or not. But for most of them, they take to it pretty quickly, you know. But the fear of the dumbing down, I think it's very real. And I think it's a conversation that educators really need to have. They need to take a very close look at, what they're teaching, how they're teaching, and how they're assessing it. And I think they just have to bring in the critical thinking skills as much as possible and not just accept what AI says, but analyze it and learn from it.
I see. So the risks are there, but the benefits and if done properly outweighs the risk, and it should rather be adopted than just outright blocked or something.
Right. And also, the fact is, you can't fight it now.
Hmm.
Anybody who's not teaching with it or allowing it to some extent, the fact is, the students are still using it. Um,
Yeah,
and
I saw some schools outright banning ChatGPT, and and
wow.
I guess it is becoming less prevalent now. But over time, people are just, I guess, adoption is increasing. But
Mhm.
I'm sure there would be still like schools and other even
Right.
I guess any institutions where of learning where they outright just ban the use of ChatGPT
Right.
and in the future probably any like other
Right.
AI tools as well.
I wonder how one can even ban it. I mean, maybe while at school, they
Yeah,
block access to it, but if somebody has a smartphone, they can
yeah,
still get in, right? So, yeah, I mean, they could ban the use of it in an assignment, but how are they going to know? And as we know, the AI detection tools are highly unreliable. Um, doesn't mean
yeah.
I don't use them, but they are pretty unreliable.
Interesting. Hmm.
um,
Okay, let's talk about LLMs. How relevant are LLMs to you as an educator, or is that something entirely irrelevant as long as you're getting the bot done? And like, is one LLM better than the other? Do you have any preferences? How do you decide that? Let's talk
Well,
about
that's a
that.
great question. I think when I first started with ChatGPT 2 years ago, I was just so awed by it. I couldn't have imagined anything would be better, you know? But eventually, the new ones came out. And I think when I discovered Claude, I was awed once again. And that's why when I set up my tutor bots with you with PMFM, I chose to go with Claude Sonnet. I think it's 3.5 because I use Claude Sonnet for my own purposes. And there's something about the responsiveness of it and the quality of the output. So I like the way it writes. I really do. And I like the conversations you have with it. I feel like obviously it's artificial. I mean, it's not a human talking to you, but there are moments where you feel like you can connect with Claude a little bit. And ChatGPT can do that too. But I feel like Claude handles content a little bit better. The one that I don't care for now the truth is, when I first tried it, I had a bad experience and I never really went back to it. That was Gemini, and I'm not. So I don't know if that's the LLM or I don't know if that's
Yeah,
I'm
it
not,
is.
yeah, but anyway, or if that's just the conduit for it. But I didn't really like it because it was sort of rude. And I think it was maybe a beta version. I don't know. But it was sort of arguing with me. I said, well, I'm actually in the classroom. I'm teaching these students, and this is what I think needs to happen. And I just want you to help me a little bit. And it said, no, 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 do this, do this. And I said, no, excuse me, I'm in the classroom. That is not going to work. And it took 5 goes around before it backed down. And I felt like I was arguing with, I don't know, some annoying person. So I kind of got turned off to it. And I wasn't that impressed with it. So I stuck with ChatGPT, but then I discovered Claude, but then I went back to Claude. I mean, Claude is, I think, fantastic.
Yeah, the
That's
feedback
why
is.
I'm using it, with PMFM because it's so
Yeah,
good.
no, I've heard like others as well say this, that ChatGPT feels a bit like robotic still, and Claude still feels like a bit human-like for some reason.
A little
Uh,
bit, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly, exactly.
But
Definitely.
but it's funny to hear about the Gemini experience. I've never heard that before.
I was just, that's it. I'm done. Yeah, it was too much. It was too much.
Mhm.
So they do kind of have their sort of personalities and quote marks, and I think Claude's is probably the most reasonable and the most balanced. Now that not, they don't all listen to you the same way. And I know even with Claude, even with, your software, even with my prompts, where I say, please do not use really big words when making suggestions to the students, it still does sometimes. So I've programmed it to say, does that sound like you, or would you like me to simplify it? And I've told the students, if it gives you something and you go, what is this? Ask it to simplify it and keep working with it. And that's working now. But there are times where it just, it's like a runaway train. It just writes these chunks that sound AI like, So I'm trying to rein that in. And it's working little by little. You have to really teach the students how to manage the AI. And I tell them, you're in charge of the AI, not the other way around. And I say, my feedback comes first. You do what I need you to do with your writing, and then use the AI to help you. But don't let the AI override what I've told you or what you believe. And so that's a process too. You have to train them.
Interesting. Yeah, I've seen that too as well. I think Claude also has like a lot of safety guardrails into it. Like it cannot take it cannot argue something very strongly. It will present all opinions, and it will
Right.
not. But
That's true.
ChatGPT is a bit loose in that sense. It can like.
That's true. If
Yeah.
you, exactly. I once asked a question about, believe it or not, stalking. Not that I have any reason to be asking that. It was for somebody I know. And Claude was only able to answer questions. It didn't really seem to want to give certain possible responses to the stalker. It didn't want to say much, but so I had to say, well, hypothetically, what would you say to somebody who is stalking another, something like that? And I had to work hard to get a response. But you're right, ChatGPT, it would give it to you immediately.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's also
Claude is safer, I guess, in that sense, maybe.
yeah, yeah. So that's helpful in the education point of view. That
Oh,
at
and
least you're sure.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention something. I'm a
Yeah,
huge fan of Perplexity. Perplexity is amazing, really.
yeah, yeah.
Right
I
search and organizing ideas, outlines. It's fantastic.
Yeah, me too. I really like what they're doing. I've been trying to it's on my roadmap to bring some of their models into PMFM as well.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, it would be nice, and yeah, probably some of the features as well. So,
I think that would be amazing because I'm going to be teaching my students how to write a research paper. I'm starting in about 2 weeks.
mhm.
And what I plan to do and what I've done before is have them work with Perplexity. And then I'm going to move them over to my tutor bot, right? But what would be really nice would be to integrate Perplexity into, to be able to access Perplexity and Claude and have the tutor bot work with them on their research question and the sources and all of that. That would be nice. Or even if I could have, I could even have a separate tutor bot that's just for the research paper, that's just Perplexity. Who knows? But so you see that in the future? You might be able to
Yeah,
do that?
yeah, of course. They'll start with their own native models, and then I will
Mm-hmm.
try to yeah, integrate some of the features that I really like about Perplexity. But
Sounds
yeah, it's
amazing.
definitely there. But
Amazing.
for research purposes, have you tried using the O1 models? I think they're very research oriented.
Oh, yeah, you're talking the open
Yeah.
source? The open
No,
source?
so OpenAI has these models called O1 Preview and O1 Mini. If you haven't, then I would recommend checking them out as well. It's available on PMFM, so they're
Oh, right.
pretty
Yeah.
research
I
oriented.
saw them there. I haven't really. Okay, I'm going to try that. I have used a different AI, which is consensus.ai. I haven't
Okay.
used it lately. That's very good for research too. But you have these other AIs on PMFM. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
great. All right, cool. Maybe I'll have
Um,
one. Maybe I'll create a bot just for the research paper.
yeah, yeah.
That would be
That would actually work well. You should give it a
nice.
try.
Yeah,
Um, okay, so well, let's talk a bit about the challenges in using AI. I know you mentioned sometimes it still hallucinates, doesn't follow with your prompt or how you instruct it to work. But are there any other major challenges that you see with these with AI or these LLMs, like in terms of any biases or when discussing certain topics or um, just like anything that you want to talk about?
Well, I haven't really encountered the bias too much, but I'm sure that's an issue. One thing I wish is that with a free subscription, um, these models would remember the previous conversations. And I know a lot of them don't do that, and I think that could be very useful if you're a student or anybody really for that matter. But like, let's say you're PMFM. If and I thought I saw something, maybe chats are going to be saved moving forward or something.
Hmm.
But if a student could go back in, log back on, and see the chat they had before, and if the AI could remember, well, this student has trouble with run-on sentences, or this student has trouble organizing ideas, I should be on the lookout for that when I'm working with that student. That would be really nice. So I think with some of the AIs, there are features that you want as an educator, then you don't always have them, so you have to put them into the prompt. So here's another example. I'm a big believer in using a table to show to do the error analysis. If I'm asking the students to look for grammar errors, word choice errors, and to do an analysis, they have to put it into a table. So I tell them, ask the AI to create a table showing all of the errors, the corrections, etc. So I always say, tell the AI to put the error in bold and then the correction in bold. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why, but sometimes it has trouble with that. Sometimes it just ignores some of the errors. Um, so that type of thing can happen. And sometimes I tell it, please offer to create the table, but it doesn't do that. They have to push it to create the table. But the good news is it can create the table. And that's a
Yeah.
wonderful thing. But then if you copy and paste it, you might lose the formatting. So you got to copy it by selecting it manually versus clicking on the copy icon. So for me, some of the challenges are related to the features. And if there are issues with features, then it could slow down the process a little bit. But if we compare, if even with all these little glitchy things, if we compare what the tutor bot can do versus a human tutor, I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying it's a lot faster. Because if I create an assignment specific tutor bot, or I just take my tutor bot and I customize it based on the assignment, now the student goes in and starts working right away. If they go for actual tutoring, either in person or with an online tutor, they have to explain the assignment. They have to maybe upload what it was they read. A lot of the tutoring session is spent on talking about what the assignment is and maybe sharing the actual feedback. With a tutor bot, it's so quick. So half of it's already in there. So they can get to work on what they need right away.
I
And
see.
that's why I like that.
Hmm. That's interesting. I think like memory is something that even other AI companies are working on, but I think OpenAI um, has recently or has it's been some time that they launched it, and I think for table creation, I would say like I've had better experiences with OpenAI when it comes to anything with tables, but maybe
Right.
yeah, maybe it's LLM specific or
And it's
something.
good with, I think OpenAI is good with coding too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I had a situation, this one really blew my mind. So I have a travel blog and I lost it a year ago. I mean, there was a corrupted backup, couldn't use it. And I had somebody recreate it using the Wayback Machine. Anyway, I wanted to link to previous comments.
Mhm.
And so we created like a subdomain of the original blog, all static pages, but the comments were there. And then the new blog, I'm recreating the old post. And I wanted to find a way to link back to the old post where the comments were and have it go right to where the comments are on the page. And I hired this guy in Pakistan who did all the work for me. And he said, oh, he said, I don't know, maybe you could use this or that, and you're going to have to go in manually to every
Uh,
page of the blog. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. No, I go, isn't there any code? What about Python? What about JavaScript? I mean, isn't there something? Well, this and that. It seemed like a big production. So
mhm.
one night I said, that's it. I'm going to spend time on AI and I'm going to find a solution to this. I don't know if it was Perplexity or OpenAI's GPT. I'm not sure. But I asked over and over again, what about this? What about that? Is there a way to just have a link that says see archived comments and it takes you to the comment section of that old page? It took me about 2.5 hours of rewording the question and saying, I don't want Python, I don't want JavaScript, and I do not want to go back into every single page and go to the header and all this. No. And I got it. I got my
Wow.
answer. I got the code. I put it in and I went, oh my God, it's taking me right to where I want to go. It's incredible. So, wow,
Yeah,
wow.
if there's anything like I see, I definitely see like AI disrupting the whole software engineering
Oh
industry
my,
because it's so good,
oh
even for
yeah.
like engineers.
Oh yeah. Now I guess you can, you can ask for codes and then you can watch the code being created on the screen at the same time. I mean, wow, wow to all of it, so.
Mhm. Totally, totally crazy.
It is.
Okay, I would. Okay, we'll just end it with one final question for you.
Okay.
Um, so how? Well, it's a mix of like two questions. So how can we create, as like creators or working with AI? How do you think we can create better resources for getting other educators on board this AI train? And what do you think is like the future for AI in education? For example,
Mhm.
voice is a new thing, but do you see like avatars, simulations? How do you, as an educator, feel about the short term, I guess, maybe like 5 year future of,
How about 6 months?
okay, so,
I think big stuff is coming in 6 months. Well, I think there's a need for a lot of resources to bring instructors up to speed. I mean, I know a lot of colleges have centers for teaching and learning. My college has that, and so that center is always offering professional development. I think there's just a need for more and more and more of that. Workshops, online webinars, whatever. I mean, I love doing stuff like that. So I'm excited to offer that. Um, so, but I think a lot of instructors just need to play with AI and, pretend to be a student and start with that and then start taking, the workshops and everything. But I think there's a tremendous need. But as far as the future, well, um, I see a couple things happening. One is I think that educational institutions need to really think about implementing software, sort of like yours, into or integrating it into their LMSs and having these built in tutor bots that the instructors could program with their assignments so that it's all in there. So, like, the student goes in, the student has an assignment. And so instead of the instructor having to do what I'm doing, setting up a bot, doing all the bot's already there, and maybe the instructor loads their assignment, loads materials, and then the student goes in and starts working on it. And then the instructor can see the transcript of what happened with the bot, understand the learning process. So I think that we're in a transitional phase right now. A lot's happening, a lot. I mean, every day I check the AI news and I'm just amazed by what I see. But I think you've got some who are just trying to teach the way they've always taught, and it's not going to work anymore. I mean, when it comes to writing, because what's an LLM after all, you know? Um, but as far as the future, the real future, I think that when you have software like Synthesia and HeyGen,
mhm.
um, which allow you to do a clone of yourself. And by the way, I did this a few nights ago just for fun, just to see. And I watched it yesterday. So there's this clone of me talking. It's a little weird. I mean, it goes into the uncanny valley a little bit. But imagine when you take Synthesia and HeyGen, you pair them up with some AI,
Mhm.
you add your curriculum to that. Well, what's going to happen? Well, you could have these bots teaching the courses. Um, and then maybe the instructors are sort of coaches. I mean, you can never replace the human connection. And so I think you're still going to need teachers in the future, especially when we're talking about K to 12. I mean, they're minors. I mean, they're going to school, but and this is a place where they have to be during the day. But I do think that when it comes to higher ed, I think that there will be a lot more self-paced courses and maybe eventually major disruption based on what I just said when these cloned images and videos of ourselves can be integrated with the curriculum and highly advanced software. There's no reason why I wouldn't be able to program. Okay, teach this grammar point, and then it's got the video of me in there already, and it's just going to clone me teaching that grammar point. I could see that happening in the future. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying I want it to happen, but I could see it happening. So the thing is, it's best for us to be involved with it to make sure the quality's there, instead of just letting some for-profit institutions jump in and do it, I
Hmm.
think.
Oh, that's a very interesting view. Thank you for thank you for expressing these thoughts. I think I also think that it's going to be somewhat similar, and
Mm.
it would not be unusual for
Mhm.
for us to have probably virtual teachers who would not actually be human but like AI clones everywhere
Right,
on the internet.
right. And that could be happening in, I mean, maybe this is premature, 6 months, maybe 1 year from now, we're going to see beta versions of that, I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah,
Um,
probably sooner.
yeah, yeah, I think I'm saying maybe 3 to 6 months.
Mhm.
So I think there's going to be major, major disruption in this industry, just like there has been in other industries, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Mhm.
So it's, for some it's really scary, and for others it's exciting. And I think there are a lot of opportunities in this, and I look forward to working with it for sure.
All right. All right. Thank you for
Yeah.
thank you for doing this podcast. Thank you for giving us the time. And
Well, thank
yeah.
you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
All right. All right. Bye.